had a BMX at the time, and there was a BMX club up at Tea Tree Plaza in the car park there. I borrowed a helmet from a lovely lady, Mrs. Cooksley. She used to sign me in. I was racing, and I came home and I came second in the club championships for my age, and with a trophy. And he's just like, "What is this?" And raced some, indoor World Indoor BMX Championships at Hordern Pavilion when I was a kid. I raced BMX and motorbikes, and then I had to make a decision because I was leaving BMX to go to a race and stuff like that, and I went, nah, I just want to race motorbikes. So yeah, I love that, and I still do to this day. Motorbikes is probably my real passion, that I just love it. So it's it. He was a bit shocked, he was like, "Oh, you can actually do this, and I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, I'm reasonable at it, it's that." So I remember making, with Ed Verco, carbon chain guides, and I guess it was Shaun Palmer, and it was back in that era, Nicolas Vouillez, and like I'd go, pull your finger out, you slack, yeah. And all the Americans were like, "What? Is he your friend?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's my really good friend." They wanted me to come back the next year. And I said, nah. So then they got Chris Kavarik went over to replace me the next season. And who's
that guy?
Yeah, sort of thing. I wasn't too super serious about it. Like I did, I rate when I was with Diamondback. Cadell Evans was our cross-country rider. And I ended up applying for the fire service. Look, there's lots of stuff you do. There's lots of really cool stuff you do for the community, and get lots of groups come through, and we do station visits with other ethnic groups that don't understand, and just give them confidence in, and teach them about safety. And
probably a question people on the internet really want to know: have you been in any of the fireman calendars? Have you?
No, not me. He's been there forever, so. And he says, "Oh, you have to carry me out in a box." Proper shuttle runs I ever did was with my mate Ed and his Land Rover, the old Army Landy.
Yeah.
And they do have a peer support network, so if something happens, they will continually chase you up and they'll get you help. They have counselling available. I think just don't give up on something. If you have a dream, just keep pushing it. And just be nice to people. Respect people, respect your competitors, and I think you'll go a long way in life.
Closer.
Yep. Steer?
Yeah, it looks good. Here we go. Ben Whitlock.
Sorry.
Good to have you in here.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's good to see you, for sure.
I've known Ben when I first started mountain bikes 30-odd years ago. There was kind of one fast guy that everyone knew, and that guy was Ben Whitlock. And from what I hear, you're still pretty quick now.
Yeah, a bit more on the motos these days, but yeah, it's still enjoy it for sure.
Still into it.
Yeah.
All right, question I'm asking everyone: if you could be an animal, what animal would you be and why?
Maybe a cheetah, just because they're so quick through the bush. Probably a cheetah.
Speed related.
Yeah, speed
sense.
Related. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right, so start us off. Go back to when you're a little boy. Tell us your junior years, when you're just kind of starting primary school up to about your 15 years old. What was your family like? Where were you living?
Yeah, so I was up in the Adelaide Hills in Hawthorne Dean. Grew up there, which was an amazing place to grow up. Bikes, I had two brothers that are 10 years older than me that would build me dragsters and stuff like that and teach me how to mono down the street and stuff. We lived in a dead end. And that was pretty cool. And then luckily I had some neighbours next door that were right into motorcycles and racing motocross. And he used to build engines and stuff like that. And his son was a national four-stroke champion when I was a kid. And that was old Uncle Graham. And he got me into motorbikes when I was quite young. I got my first little MR50 Elsinore Honda when I think I was 8 for my birthday. And they taught me to ride, and sort of it took off from there, really. So, yeah, it was cool.
And schooling, what was school like?
I was pretty average at school. I've sort of had other interests. Bikes were always my thing right through primary school. I did a little bit of footy and stuff like that, but when kids were doing weekend sport, I started racing BMX when I was about 9. So I pretty well, all my weekends were always riding BMX. I wasn't really into school sports and things like that. So, and then after school was obviously riding BMX and skateboarding and stuff like that. Yeah, so that was pretty well, how it all started out, really. I was sort of, my dad used to manage a Modbury hotel, and my parents were separated at the time. And so I used to go to Dad's on a Saturday morning and then, just had a BMX at the time. And there was a BMX club up at Tea Tree Plaza in the car park there. So on a Saturday morning, I'd disappear and ride up there. I didn't really tell him. I'd borrow a helmet from a lovely lady, Mrs. Cooksley. She used to sign me in as my guardian. I ended up racing 3 races over a sort of about 6 weeks. It was the club championships, and I joined the club. Like I just because I told Dad I wanted to join a BMX club. He didn't know I was racing, and I came home and I came second in the club championships for my age and with a trophy. And he's just like, "What is this?" And that's how I started, and got into BMX racing, and was fortunate enough to travel a bit around Australia and race some indoor world indoor BMX championships at Hordern Pavilion when I was a kid and stuff like that. And I was never a gun because I was a bit smaller than a lot of the kids, and it's all power related when you're young. But I think I came 6th in the international indoor championships in Hordern Pavilion in Sydney. I reckon I was 10 or 11 or something then, and raced a lot of nationals and stuff, and did okay in BMX as a little kid. So, but I also had my motorbike stuff in the background, which I was probably more passionate about. But BMX was a nice little stepping stone into that.
And that was racing motorbikes?
At the time, no, but I started racing mini bikes when I was 12, and I raced BMX and motorbikes. And then I had to make a decision because I was leaving BMX to go to a race and stuff like that. And I went, nah, I just want to race motorbikes. So, and I won the state titles when I was 14 at that as well. It was really... Yeah, I love that, and I still do to this day. Motorbikes is probably my real passion that I just love it. So it's super cool.
Yeah, cool. And so what about your high school years? How did the last few years of school, when did you finish?
Yeah, I only did about half of year 11, and I pulled the pin because I was just racing motorbikes and skipping school with mates and to go riding and stuff like that. And we used to surf a little bit then as well with some friends. So we'd sort of always disappear. And again, it's probably something I regret a little bit. Like I wish I had to push myself a little bit because I've sort of gone into study later in life and done okay with it sort of thing. So, but it just wasn't the time, place. Probably the subjects were pretty boring, and what do you do? It's sort of it's. High school was lots of good mates, lots of good friends still from high school days and stuff like that, but wasn't really about school. It was about whatever we did outside of school, really. So, which is probably the same for a lot of people. But
typical school kid brain.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely could have done more, but yeah.
And what about your family? Tell us a bit about your family.
Yeah, so Mum's been super supportive. She's a pretty amazing woman. She, there's not many mums that would tell people they love going and watching, you amongst 40 people riding into a first corner and, getting taken out and stuff like that. She used to love it. Like she, always come to races and stuff like that, was super supportive. And Dad, not so much. He had pubs and stuff like that and was remarried when he was pretty young, but he came across to Mount Buller and watched me race a couple of times over there when he was living in Melbourne, and he was a bit shocked, he was like, "Oh, you can actually do this, And I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, I'm reasonable at it, It's so that was pretty funny. But yeah, Dad's gone now. He's passed away about 15 years ago, but Mum's still going strong, and she's I see her a lot, and she's super cool. Yeah,
and your brothers? You mentioned a couple of
my brothers. Got one lives in Adelaide. He's got a couple of kids, and I've got another one that lives up in the Gold Coast, and he's been up with Sydney for 10 years, and he's been the Goldie for about 8 years. So, but I do see him. He comes down, birthdays. He's coming down in November, so which will be good. So,
do they have the same motorbike?
No, not really. I don't know. It's no one in my family really. It was just people around me that influenced me a bit, I think. So, yeah, like little things like I remember. As a kid watching on a Saturday morning, you could watch the Hot Foot Super Series. It was a BMX racing. It was amazing. It was every Saturday morning, and I just religiously watched that. And it had people like Jamie Hales, and they were the first superstars of BMX in Australia, like Mongoose-sponsored riders, and they were the people I looked up to and sort of tried to mould myself on. And and then later in life, I've met Jamie and stuff like that. And it was actually quite funny. I was at a national championship in Thredbo doing a slalom, and I yelled out, "Oh yeah, this is Ben Whitlock in lane 1," and And then we've got in lane 2, Jamie Hales. And I looked at him and went, "Are you Jamie Hales?" And he goes, "Yeah, man." And he goes, "Oh, you were my hero, man." Like, you know, and then I absolutely smoked him in both the runs. But then I said, "Can I chat to you after we've had a race against each other?" And then, you know, we finished, had an awesome chat, caught up with him that night. And yeah, they're the people that I just think are amazing, you know, like, and just later in life, you get a bit bigger and a bit stronger, and then suddenly you find you can beat those people. But yeah, they were the sort of people really influenced me as a kid.
Yeah, so, nice.
Yeah.
And so what? You finished school year 11,
yep.
And what did you end up doing at that stage?
I went and worked in bike stores. Like I've been push bikes again was my thing. So I went and worked in Broadview at Broadview Cycles and worked there for years. And they were really supportive of my racing and things as well. So and then sort of stayed with them for a fair while. Still have a great relationship. Shane's got South Coast Cycles with his son Danny, and I've known Danny since he was born and stuff like that. And I still deal with him now and stuff like that, which is cool. And then after that, sort of went through and then ended up working for Repco Cycles. So being I was riding Diamondback at the time and stuff like that, and they were the distributor. So they asked me to come and work for them, and they were really great because I could sort of leave a bit and do some training, and used to ride to work all the time. They were just in Edwardstown, so we'd come down through Sheps every morning and ride back up there at night and stuff like that. So did a lot of training and stuff with them, and worked with some amazing people again. Peter Montesi, who's no longer with us, but was a real inspiration. He raced. Yeah, in the World Championships before I even knew what the World Championships were, you know, like, so he raced over at Mammoth, I think, like really early days. And so he was cool to work with, and he was super dedicated and about training and stuff like that, and taught me a lot. Rob Crafter, who was a BMX legend in the state as kids, and Simon Young, and he was amazing as well. All really good motocross riders and stuff like that as well. So that I raced with, you know, through my whole youth and things like that. So they were pretty amazing people, and gave me lots of scope to, travel a bit with Diamondback and do a few things like that as well. So, yeah, it was a pretty cool place to work. And then ended up working for Claude at Megabike after that for a while, and on King William Road at Hyde Park, and that was great. Claude's still a really good friend of mine, and Leslie was his wife at the time. They were great people, and again, really supportive and things like that. And then I just got the opportunity to go and rep. So ended up repping for a few brands, and did Bianchi and Scott Bikes and Vittoria Tyres and lots of other brands, like heaps of stuff, like obviously agencies and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was a good stepping stone to that. And I still do that to the day now. So for one of the companies. So, yeah, been working for them for 20-something years, I think. So
what was a typical day in those days when you were repping? What's a typical week or a typical month look like for you?
Yeah, look, I guess a good thing for me when I was repping, I had young kids, so I could be pretty involved with them, and so I could take them to school and then go out, see stores. I used to do a bit of country running, but not a lot, being in Adelaide, so we don't have a lot of big stores. Occasionally I'd go to Port Augusta and things like that. But a normal day would just be, loading up some samples and loading your car up, having a bit of a plan, what you're going to do and what you want to target, and go and speak to dealers. The good thing about it, I guess, being in the industry for so long in the state, was most people were just my friends. So it was kind of a pretty cool job to do. Go and have a coffee and a chat, and then at the end go, all right, what do you need? And they'd buy some stuff, and maybe replenish their shelves and things like that for them, and then move on to the next one. So yeah, it was good. It's cool days. It was good fun. Definitely good.
Take us back to early inside line days. What's some early memories? And whether it's racing or the people, what's some early memories?
I guess. It probably started even before then. Adelaide Mountain Bike Club with downhilling had a downhill at Warina Holiday Park, and it was like a downhill trials cross country, which is like what it used to be back in those days. Like you do everything on the same bike basically. And I remember racing it there, and that Simon Young and Crafty and all those guys were racing that. And I was young. I saw a picture of myself. I was on a Gary Fisher, like just full rigid bull noose handlebars, like, really bad brakes and stuff like that. And I won that race, and I was pretty young. I was probably 16 or something. So that's the first thing time I'd ever heard of downhilling. It was just a mowed track on the side of a grassy hill sort of thing, but super fun. And then sort of, a few years went by and there wasn't sort of much going on. And then obviously Inside Line started, and then people say, "Oh, you should do that. You ride pretty fast in your cross country bike and stuff like that. You should," because I used to race a fair bit of cross country, and that was always my strength on the descents. Get a bit smashed by the little whippets on the climbs and things like that, but it was always my strength, and I knew that if the last half of the last lap was really descending, I could win a race, sort of thing. So so we just heard about that, and then it was pretty awesome that up at the farm, up at Marble Hill. I remember the first race I had there with the 2 different courses on it, little drop-in sort of section, and super cool fun, like really amazing. Like, it's the first time I'd ever done anything like that, and it was great. Just all Gary Patterson and all the lads, like all the old school guys, and Dazzle, and it was great. It was just a cool community, and everyone had fun. Everyone was serious about the racing, but just super casual about everything else to go along with it. Didn't really matter what you finished in the end. Everyone just had a good time. And but I was lucky enough. I won that race, and had a super cool time. And then the slaloms, they were amazing as well. And then Angus and Pat, amazing. Put the slalom on at Gawler. That was amazing. Like, really heaps of work went into it, and tabletops and berms, and like super amount of work went into it, and organising it obviously with their local councils and things. But they're the sort of really good memories I have of those days. Just, good laugh, and people on microphones having a laugh, and just, really good bunch of people to race with. And then everyone rode together anyway. It was kind of, the race was one thing, but it was more about, which racing's always kind of been that to me. It's more about what you do there, and the fun you have, and the day, and the practice, and the just the build up to it and stuff like that. But Inside Line was super cool. And then obviously they had the downhill down at Wollonga, and I think the first one they had was on the road down there, straight down the road. And I remember I won that. It was really muddy, but I won it, and Darren O'Grady was second, and he was a strong rider and super powerful and stuff like that. But that was a super fun ride as well. And then obviously after that they went into the paddock and the property. And lots of good memories there too. Had some good races and some not so good races where I smashed myself, before nationals when I was going pretty fast and I knew I could do pretty well. But it was good. Really good memories for sure.
And what sort of bikes were you like when you the first Marble Hill, or your first race? What sort of bike are you riding at that stage? Do you remember?
I actually
still a hardtail, or did you have a dual?
I reckon I might have had the first dual response Diamondback then.
In South Australia.
I reckon, yeah. And it was the first ones, only about 4 of them in the country, sort of thing. And they sort of were helping me at the time, Diamondback, and then we got the new ones in, and then and as time went by, they got me some bikes from the States with a bit longer travel, but they were all kooky head angles, and
Were you giving them feedback? For stuff like that?
Definitely. Yep. A lot of feedback and things. I went to Bali for an international conference to give them feedback on their new bikes and stuff like that, which was pretty cool. Went across there, and as a youngster, it was a bit like, what am I meant to do here? But it was cool. Yeah, just talking to people about what you like, and it's hard to get things like that because it costs so much money to change, designs back in those days. I'm not sure now, they probably do it a bit easier, but back there doing the moulds and stuff like that was a pretty expensive process. But just trying to get slacker head angles and things like that, and just to make them handle better. And
nothing to compare it to.
No, not really. Just like
how suspension throws the rest of the whole geometry.
Exactly right. And that's what used to happen. And you end up just riding this so steep, and you see old videos, people like just getting flicked over the bars, and old ones from Threadbow, and people just cartwheeling down the track. And so that was early days of, I guess, just trying to make stuff. But back in there was no chain guides, and there was no anything like that. So I remember making with Ed Verco carbon chain guides and stuff like. He got all these carbon guides made, and that's what we rode with, and just noisy noisy bikes to ride on. But it kept the chain on.
People were cutting breadboards, like the plastic
Yeah,
breadboards, just
yeah,
anything
yeah,
to
totally.
try and sandwich the chain in.
And then, so now you can just go to anywhere and buy it off the shelf, and it's super trick when it comes out. And yeah, the bikes now are just amazing, like so good. But minimum travel we had, and 3 inches front and back would have been like that. That was a fair bit of travel at the time, and so it was good. Yeah, it was fun days back then. It was I really enjoyed the mountain bike side of it. It was good, but lucky got to, like I say, with Inside Line. Went to the Nationals in the bus with everyone the first time I ever went to a National, and that was great fun. And just, sitting on the bus with a heap of like-minded idiots from Adelaide, and just had such a good time over there. I remember Marshy, I reckon he won the national trials at the time. I remember supporting him and getting around that. That was super cool to watch the event down there on the lawns and stuff. That was amazing. But yeah,
And you did well at that race, didn't you?
I'm trying to think. I was pretty fast, but I reckon I crashed out, and I finished, maybe top 20 or something like that. I don't think I did that good, sort of thing. So, but after that, the next year when I came back, then I started winning a few national rounds and stuff like that, doing a bit better.
Step us back to what year you're starting to race some national downhill races, and who were some of the other names back then?
Yeah, probably 95, I guess. Like, would have been people like, I was really probably battling it out all the time was myself, Michael Ronning, Scott Sharples, I guess Phil Catton. Ed used to go pretty well, getting top 10s and stuff like that. Who else? Craig Mace. A lot of guys like that were, all good riders and things like that. And I ended up always battling it out with Scott and Michael and myself. We'd be first, second, third in the nationals, and then like in the series, and then next year the other first and third. I ended up being second a lot in the national series, like just because they would flick apart, the two of them, and I'd kind of always be there. It would always be a couple of points at the end of the season, so it was always it was good. It was competitive, and they were probably the main contenders sort of through that time. Yeah.
And how many years did you pursue that kind of
Not that
national
long.
racing?
Not that long. I only really did 95, 96, 97, and then 90. So three national series really is all I did in downhill, and then I was just probably a bit over racing. I'd raced my whole life, like motocross and supercross and BMX and stuff like that. But I guess I went to America in 98 and I rode for, got a pro contract there with Crank Junior X, Pro Junior X team out of Big Bear, the Rogers family, which were a really great family. And so I rode for them, and we rode Turner bikes, and I think we're sponsored by Shimano, and then Vans and all these other really cool brands and stuff like that. And I loved it over there. I won quite a few races in Cali, but then I went up to Seattle and I popped my knee out and did my knee at a World Cup in Seattle, and I was and then that was pretty well. I was like, I'm pretty well done. I want to go home. So,
and who are the world names when you're overseas?
Probably. I guess when I raced the Worlds in 96 in Australia, I got really good friends with Pete Lonkarovich, Pistol Pete, who was a legend BMXer from when I was a kid and stuff like that. He was a couple of years older. We stayed at Glenn Jacobs' brother's house together up in Cairns, and just became really good friends and stayed in touch. And then when I went to the States, I ran into him in the car park at it was a Norba race, and I'm like, Pete. He's like, hey, you're my brother. Like, so that was super cool, and he hooked me up with Vans and ridiculously when I was over there. And so he was again a pretty influential person internationally. But I guess it was Shaun Palmer, and it was back in that era. Nicolas Vouillez and Miles Rockwell and
big OG names.
Tanner. They were all sort of the guys that I raced with. That good guys, and they didn't really like little Australians coming over. It was pretty funny. It was an interesting place to race because you'd go there, and when I first rocked up, I remember thinking, wow, I'm out of my league here. This is pretty full on. And dudes would be up, tricked out stuff. Hey, man, what are you doing here? Oh, you're the Aussie. And I'm like, yeah. And they go, oh, yeah, what are you racing pro? And I was like, oh, I think I'm racing pro. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I guess I am. And they said, oh, yeah, I'm an expert. And yeah, I'm going pretty good. And then at the end of the day, I'd win pro or something. And then you'd look back and they were like 2.5 minutes behind your pace and stuff like these guys. And you're just like, yeah, right. These guys aren't as good as I thought they were, So,
and how many Aussies were doing that with you back then?
Well, I lived on the same team that year. I think Ronning and Sharples were there pretty well for Fisher and Trek, and then I was there with Crank, and then Johnny Waddell was on the same team. He was a junior, so I used to train with Johnny a lot. He was a great lad. And then I lived in a house with Luke Stockwell. So but he was a cross-country rider. So I'd go and help him at the cross-country rounds, give him bottles and stuff like that. Yell abuse at him when he'd come past. And Americans couldn't deal with that as well. Like I'd go, pull your finger out, you slack, Yeah. And all the Americans would like, what? Is he your friend? And I'm like, yeah, he's my really good friend. That's why I talk to him like that. They just did not get it at all. It was pretty funny. So every lap, they'd just be horrified when I'd say something to him. But it was just a normal Aussie thing, like, come on, like, pick it up, And, yeah, it was good. It was pretty funny. But they were cool people to live with. The Rogers family are, lovely family. And they were pretty big, I think. And then basically the year when they wanted me to come back the next year, and I said, nah. So then they got Chris Kovarik went over to replace me the next season. And who's
that guy?
Kovarik. He just dominated the next year. So, yeah, awesome dude. And good on him. And he was at the age, and for me, I was like, I just didn't have the drive and passion anymore to do it. I could have gone there probably for years after and done quite well. But, when you don't have that real sort of drive and passion for it anymore, I thought, no, it's time to go back into, and just always rode bikes.
What was attractive back home at that stage? Like, how old are you?
Well, then I was about 27 or something, late 20s. So I was a bit older getting into it, I guess, because it wasn't around, until sort of when I was a bit in my 20s and stuff. So, but yeah, I was actually with a partner at the time. And so, we had a house and stuff like that. And I just loved living in the hills where I was. And I'm a bit of a homebody. I do love my house and my things and I always have. It's always hard for me to travel. Even now, like I'll go away for a 2-day motorbike ride with my mates and stuff, and it's awesome. But I just always look forward to getting home, like it's I'm always been like that, I think. So yeah, some people can travel and spend a lot of time, I guess, away, and it really works for them, and then other people find it a bit harder to do that. And I was always one that found it a bit harder, I think. So
yeah. When you're overseas and there's just a handful of Aussies over there, were you all hanging out together? Was it just like you guys as a group, or you were
I definitely hung out with more probably Americans when I was over there. Different people. I was good friends with a girl, April Lawyer, who was a really good downhiller. I was, like Pete Lankarovich and then the Rogers family. There was a lot of guys that would race and there were BMX races and stuff that lived locally, and that we had awesome jumps just near where in Big Bear they'd just spent so much time building these jumps, so we'd just hang out there in the afternoons and things like that. So I did ride a lot with Luke. So they gave me a road bike when I got there, and he used to just ride the legs off me like all the time through the mountains because it's all high altitude, and I'd just be suffering like a dog. But I got fit. We were doing 160k rides all the time together, and it got me pretty fit. And then so probably Luke was the main person I hung out with. We'd get, ride, go to Sizzlers, just eat all you can eat. Like after riding, fall asleep in the booth, get up again, go and eat more, then go home, and then go and do some jumps in the afternoon after we've done that in the morning. And yeah, it was good fun. And I even raced the state road racing championships, Californian road championships over there in the high desert. It was just hot and altitude, and guys were just on something. Like the dudes that were going fast were going so fast. I've never seen anything like it. And I remember they said, oh, yeah, once you come around, you can't go over the white lines or you get disqualified. And I remember after the first lap, just riding straight over the white line and getting disqualified. Yeah, I was just done. I was like, nah, I can't do it. And even Luke in the end was the same. I reckon he did 3 or 4 laps and he was just like, nah, this is ridiculous. But yeah, but that was cool. Like, yeah, just weird little different things to do, you know, like it's, and that was people like Tinker Urez were racing it and all these old school characters and stuff like that. It was
How long were you over there for?
I was only over there for about 5 months, yeah. So I've
In a
had
row?
four and a half months, yeah, just in a row, just one stint. I did, yeah. At the time, I thought, oh, it'd be good. I could have kept going back, but like I said, yeah. At the end of it, I when I did my knee, it's just like, I could go back next year, but I'd had enough. So
What was the potential? You know, back then, what would a success be? Like, if you went over there, you raced, and you started winning stuff. Was there financial gains there for you?
Not heaps. A little bit. You know, you'd basically get a bit of a wage and you'd get paid. You know, everything would be paid for when you're there. You don't really have to put your hand into your pocket for anything. But no, it certainly wasn't what it is now. It's professional sport. And back then, there were people in my life that like Chamberlain, Michael Chamberlain, his name was, and he was the boss of Repco at the time, and with Diamondback, and I would go and stay at his house in Pakenham, and he'd drive us up to Mount Buller and stuff like that. And he was really trying at the time to get external businesses more involved and make it more of a professional, like, you know, have, you know, adverts on TV where, you know, downhillers, and try and get sort of more of that happening. And he had a big crack at it, but it was sort of maybe too early for it, sort of thing. And yeah, I think, you know, it's taken later years that guys can actually go away and earn some money from it, which is great. Like, you know, they deserve it. It's a hard
Putting your
sport.
life on the line.
Yeah, it's a and they're quick as, like, the guys. I love watching it still now, and super fast and super smooth and but yeah, they deserve to get paid for that. Like that, you know, and the amount they trained, really, back when I was racing, there's probably a few guys that trained hard. I just went riding, really, and just had fun and still have a beer at the end of the day. And you know, it was more about, like I said, just going away with your friends, have a bottle of wine at night and stuff, and then race the next day. I just enjoyed it. It was just that fun sort of thing. I wasn't too super serious about it. Like I did, I rate when I was with Diamondback. Cadell Evans was our cross-country rider, so I used to share a room with Cadell quite a bit. And he was on the other spectrum. Like, he was, I'd be like, hey, Cadell, I'm going for breakfast. And he'd be on a wind trainer looking at a brick wall. And I'd just, and I'd leave him. I'd go, oh, what are you doing? Do you want to come for lunch? You know, I'd come back 2 hours later, he's still doing it. I'm like, oh, well, we want to catch up later on. And then come back, like, he'd be on it for 5 hours looking at a wall, just sweating.
That's what it takes to be the best.
And that's why he won the Tour de France, you know. Like, so that's, you know, that's sort of, I always knew, yeah, I'm not prepared to do it. I can't do that.
I'm fairly dedicated, but that's a whole
not
new
like
level.
that. Yeah, I was dedicated to having fun, really, and doing jumps and skids with your mates, and yeah, so not to that elite sort of sport level. So yeah, which I think it takes that now. If you want to get really good, even in downhill, there's guys doing it. You've got to do it. You've got to really do it.
You've got to be a skateboarder, and
yeah,
I mean, maybe diet's not so critical for a skateboarder, but
yeah,
still,
yeah, if you're taking it serious, for sure. They've all got good trainers and, you know, stuff like that, and it's great, really. It's great that it's come to that professionalism.
You know, rehab, injury recovery. You know, you can heal probably faster now as a result.
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
That knowledge. Yeah,
absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, okay. So you did that. You came back to Adelaide. You're working in the bike repping scene.
Yep.
And did that keep going, or did that change?
Yeah, no, pretty well. I came back. I was repping. I repped for quite a few years after that, and then I sort of thought I'd, you know, later in my career, like when I was sort of going, oh, do I want to do something else? Do I want to? And I ended up applying for the fire service for the MFS and getting in and sort of, I've been doing that now for, 10 years. Yeah, close on 10 years, and really enjoying it. It's awesome. Again, you've got that camaraderie and a great bunch of people. I work with, there's 28 of us on shift just at the one station at any time, and they're all really good mates, and we ride mountainies together, and we do heaps of stuff like that, heaps of fun things, and have, you know, bowls days, and it's just a cool environment. They're all pretty fit. They all go to the gym.
I imagine, that's a good group of people to be around.
Yeah, it is. They're really good mates, and a lot of them ride motorbikes, so we go motorbike riding together and stuff like that. So it's a real different group of people, but there's that you can do anything with all of them, sort of thing. They're all sort of right into stuff. So yeah, it's been a great thing, and it's probably given me back a lot of passion for motorbike riding again. I do a lot of enduro riding, and I've done a few races, and getting too old to do races like that, it hurts too much. But I really enjoy catching up with old mates, like old mountain bike mates, the Moggridge boys, and we go away a lot together, and I love that. Like, yeah, just going away with your mates and having fun, doing 200k trail rides day in, day out, up in the mountains. We go over to Mount Beauty or Buller and stuff like that.
Country, which isn't a race.
High country. Yeah, no, it's not a race. It's just super fun again, and a good laugh. And again, at night, you have a good night. And then during the day, it's just all about your riding and put your helmet on, and just you're still, you're pinning it like all day. And it's just, yeah, it's great. Yeah, really good fun.
Okay, tell us. So you're in the fire department. Tell how does it? What's a typical week like? How does a fireman live and work?
Yeah, so it's pretty good because you basically work 2 days out of every 8, and so I work 2 day shifts, which are 10 hours, and then 2 14-hour nights, and then I have 4 days off. So you do get those. Realistically, you've got 6 days when you can get out and do stuff still, which is great. So yeah, and then you do get a few holidays and stuff like that. I am fairly heavily involved with the union aspect of the fire service. I was in the state council, and I was the treasurer for 3 years of the UFU of South Australia, and now I'm the president of the UFU. So that takes up heaps of time. I meet with a lot of politicians, and do our EB negotiations and all of that sort of stuff, and meet with the chiefs a lot and stuff like that. So it's good. You really learn the ins and outs of how the service works, probably a lot more than a lot of people would sort of get the chance to do, but it is pretty time consuming as well. But you get a lot out of it, trying to get better cancer legislations put through government to protect people and make sure, we're getting rid of diesel particulate fumes in stations to, lessen the chances of fireys getting cancers and things like that. So I'm pretty passionate about it. And so that's probably where my passion has gone after racing and stuff like that. It's good to have something to put your mind to and try and make a difference. And and I'm really enjoying it. It's good.
So you were on the truck. You were putting out fires.
I am still.
You're still doing that as well?
Yep, still do that. I just do extra stuff as well. Yeah. So we meet sort of state council meets once a month, and I'm on committees and things like that are just, sometimes during my working day they'll take me out and I'll just go to a committee meeting and back on the truck again. But no, I want to stay on the truck, so I love it. It's still you still get a rush and again, that camaraderie and, hanging out with your mates and going to pretty dangerous situations, but having a pretty clear head and knowing that you can do the job well is, it's good. It's exciting and I love it. I love every day of it. It's cool.
Can you tell us a story where you've had a really successful, like a challenging operation, and you've had a really successful outcome?
I mean, we do a lot of stuff. I love. I'm on the aerials and trucks and things like that, and we do a lot of rescues from heights and things like that. So getting people that are in pretty bad predicaments in really weird situations and being able to get up there and get them onto a stretcher and bring them down with the ambulance crews and things like that. And had pretty good outcomes quite a few times with things like that. I've been to some pretty big incidents. Sadly, my local shops got burnt down in Stirling, so I went to that in the aerial. So that was a bit of a, That
was just recently, huh?
Yeah, it was, yeah. So, look, there's lots of stuff you do. There's lots of really cool stuff you do for the community, and, we get lots of groups come through, and we do station visits with, other ethnic groups that don't understand, and just give them confidence in, and teach them about safety and things like that. And I really enjoy that aspect of it as well. And kids groups and schools and people with disabilities, and it's cool. That's really rewarding as well. Like, it's not sort of, you're not out there doing something, but it's a really nice thing to do for your community. So yeah, and that's, I think, that's a big part of the job, is just wanting to do stuff for the community. Really, it's not about yourself. So
the flip side of that is tragedy.
Yes.
How do you guys cope when you? I imagine it's pretty tough mentally a lot of the time.
Yeah, we do have some good support, like in the as far as peer support goes and things at station. So they will follow up a lot and talk to you about that. We'll have pretty intense debriefing after big incidents and things like that. And yeah, you just they try and make sure you're always talking to people and we all talk to each other. There's no hiding things nowadays. You can talk about stuff. It's no point bottling it up inside. If you've got something that's on your mind, just let's have a chat about it. And that's we all try and encourage that throughout the workforce. So. And I think that's pretty well, I think works for a lot of people. There's always people that'll have issues and it draws things up and things like that. But overall, it's a good support network there. And I think all the other crew that we're all there to support you as well. And that sort of thing.
Kind of built for it a little bit. I mean, I imagine a confronting scene of a car accident like kids, there'd be certain scenes that would probably really hit home.
Yeah, definitely.
But you've got to concentrate on the job at hand and distance yourself.
It is, I think. And I think every fire would say it's not really your sort of issue. It's not your tragedy at the time. It's actually it's someone else's, but it's just about trying to make that a little bit better, like any way you can, sort of thing. So so I think that's pretty well. Every incident you go to, it's not really. It's not your issue, it's someone else's, but you're just trying to rectify it and do the best you can for them, sort of, and if there's any make it that little tiny bit better, because you're seeing people at their worst times in their lives, really, and it's, if you can make that a little bit better, then, and that could be just a lady who's, maybe her cellar's flooding or something like that, something as basic as that. But to her, that is probably the worst time in her life, But if you can make it a bit nicer for them and work it out and rectify it a bit for them and put them in the right directions to get other things done, you've done your job and they feel better about it. And it's good.
Any crazy billowing fires, you're rushing in there like the movies? Have you had moments like that in your life, or they keep you out of that?
No, you do. Yeah, you do. You go into some pretty, roaring situations, sort of thing. But there's been lots really in house fires and things like that. Yeah, like running fuel fires and things. But lots of different stuff. But no, it's good. It's a good job. And I don't know, I think maybe, I know other friends of mine, ex-downhillers like Craig, Felix and things, he's an officer in the MFS and, maybe it holds you in good stead, just all that sort of competitiveness and having to concentrate and that sort of working things out and that memory of trails and stuff like that has probably all been held me in good stead to be good at my job. I hope I am.
Yeah. Probably a question people on the internet really want to know. Have you been any of the fireman calendars? Have you?
No, not me. No. I'm a bit old for that.
Back in the day, even
no, definitely
is that a bit
not.
Of a laugh in the?
It's a big laugh for sure. Everyone, look, heaps of my mates have, and it's pretty funny. But no, it's a common question you get asked every time. Yeah, it's
old man fireman calendar, maybe.
If they do one of those, maybe, yeah. Old has-beens fire calendar.
Go back to some inside line memories, some personalities, some people. Who are some of the people that stand out and for their reasons?
Homer was a classic, like with his adrenalines and stuff like that. I think people like that kind of made it, like they made magazines and stuff like that. Yourself making videos and as I said, Angus, the Club Safari guys, just hilarious. They're the sort of people that really made going to those things fun. I did heaps of photo shoots with Homer and stuff, and he was super passionate about it and did a great job with it, we'd do shots and they'd end up magazines and stuff like that. And, they're the people I really remember. Gary Patterson always was a classic. Ed Verco, Craig Felix, they were really good friends. They were people I travelled a lot interstate with and stuff like that. And so I spent a lot of time with them. They were great people, just hilarious. But inside line days were, I'd say probably yourself, Club Safari, Homer, just people like that just were
Good bit of fun.
The good bit of fun, the bread and butter of the days and stuff like that. They'd bring the music. They'd put the effort in, like I'd just rock up and race, and it was good. But they were the people that really made it special.
Yeah.
Bought speakers, so there was music playing, and there was, just made it an event and an atmosphere. So, you can't thank those people enough, really, because, when you look back, they made it pretty cool for sure. So, yeah.
Yeah, nice. And so what do you do with yourself day to day nowadays? Like, what's a big part of you?
Well, I've just built a new house, and so I've been working on that a lot the last sort of 12 months. I've just bought myself an e-mountain bike, which I didn't think I'd ever do. Man, it's so much fun.
Hear that, Dane?
It's so much fun. And for me, it's great. I live up in the hills in Stirling, and I can ride. I work in the city, so I could just do amazing downhill tracks on my way to work. It takes me an hour to get to work, and then it takes me an hour and 5 minutes to get home. Up the same trails pretty well. It's unbelievable. I never would have thought, but it's only been, a couple of months, and I'm really, really enjoying that. Days off, again, riding my motorbike. I love, I've got a 350 EXC KTM, and I love doing that with my mates and getting out with them any chance we get. I've got a big ride on tomorrow at Mount Crawford, actually, which would be super cool.
Tell us a bit about that. Tell us what are those events about?
Yeah,
well,
that's a guy called Jerry Youngwood. He organised them. They're creating tracks or finding tracks. So he gets access into our forest, which you can't get, obviously, and it's really hard to get access, which is a pain. But basically, he gets access, organise events, just pay some money. He raises a lot of money for food charities, for Food Bank and stuff like that, which is great. So a lot of your money goes into that, and it's just a great day, organised, amazing trails through the forest, like fast stuff, super tight, single track, and big descents and big
They're
climbs.
Just ride days. It's not a race. It's
just
a
ride days.
Yeah.
So you can go out and smash as many laps as you want. You end up riding pretty fast because you get to know the track, and you're hauling. But they're just ultimately just ride days.
How many people are doing that?
I reckon they'd get usually about 120 or so people. Yeah, 100. Yeah, probably maybe even a bit over that sort of thing. So, and it's great and it's good. It's a real concern for me that we don't get access to these things. I mean, most of the people that do it are guys, and everyone says, they just feel better for it, catching up with everyone, their mental health and things like that. And that's something, I'd like to probably persevere with a little bit more to try and get more access and try and get more days like that where guys can get together, and girls are invited as well. But ultimately, it's a lot of guys that are, and they get out on their bikes, have fun with their mates, just enjoy the outdoors, amazing, in a safe environment. Everyone's going the same way. You're not going to have accident. There's support there. There's ambulance. Raises money for charity. It's amazing, and it's good for everyone involved. So there should be more of that. It's a real pain that we don't have access like they do interstate, like into forests and stuff like that. So, and even with this guy, if you do a little mark on one of their fire roads, he gets money taken off of his. It's just pathetic. So you have to go slow across fire, and then you can hit the gas again when you're off. But then the tractors go through there the next week and rip the logs down, and it's just crazy. Bureaucracy gone mad. It's, but people like Jerry, who's been doing it for years, is passionate about it, and there's a reason he does it, because it is for mental health and things like that, and raising money for charity. And so, all to him. And I try and support those rides as much as I can. We do the Sand and Swamp every year, which raises money for the Tintinara Action Group, which has bought ambulances for the Tintinara region and stuff like that. And I've been doing that. I think this year was my 20th year since my first one. I've done that, and that's a 2-day thing. You sleep on a farm, and it's amazing as well. Again, it's not a race. You ride fast. If you're up the front of the fast group, you're going pretty hard, but it is more about the whole weekend away with your mates and riding bikes, having fun, and they're the sort of events I do now, sort of more that sort of stuff. Yeah.
If someone's listening or watching it and they go, oh shit, that sounds bloody good, how would someone find events like this?
A lot of that stuff's just because I've entered it, I guess, and you get an email, or Facebook have Tintinara Action Group. There's the Mallee Masters, which is the Levis Club, I think. They do it every year as well up at Wainaka, and they do it. Yeah, it's a really good thing again. So it's just probably keeping an eye on things like that.
Type in a search engine.
So
and
just
look
like off-road motorbike rides, or it's a pretty hard thing. And again, be good if they could advertise that a little bit more, because they get plenty of people. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Dean Rowan, there's quite a group of guys that do this stuff.
Yeah.
But if I didn't speak to you, I probably would never hear
people
about it. And if I wanted to do it, it's like, well, how do I find it?
So I guess it's more probably, people, if they do ride a bit, like just talking to their local motorbike store or finding out, because if they can talk to people like that, people like myself knows, this one's in August and this one's always in this month. And so you can kind of map out your winters of riding, a little bit more. Don't sort of ride in summer that much anymore. It gets a bit, gets hot and fire risk and just dust. But we do a bit. But again, with the lads, we'll go over to Beachport and stuff a couple of times a year and ride over there a bit. But that's just a small group of us. So
oh, nice.
Yeah, good fun.
And what about, so a bit back to your family again? Like, what's your family life now? You got?
Yeah, so I've got two kids that are in their 20s, Finn in India, and Finn's still living at home. He's just a
smart kid.
Smart kid, salesman, money driven, wants to buy a house in a year. So he's saving madly, and good on him. I think he will. He'll be fine. And India's living with a couple of friends, and then I'm married. I've got to my wife Simone, and so we're just loving our new place we've just done, and just doing heaps of work to that, and just loving living in the Stirling in the hills and going for walks around in there and rides and stuff like that. It's home life is good. Yeah, super good. Yeah, no, I couldn't be happier.
The kids are older, so you don't need to be really fussing too much about them anymore.
Nah, not at all.
You're working what? So you're working 2 days a week.
Yeah,
living the dream.
Yeah. So it's good.
I'm sure there's
a little bit more going on for sure.
There,
yeah. 2 days a week.
Yeah.
Nah, so it is good. Yeah, no, I couldn't be happier. It's everything I've done that's kind of all come to this spot in my life. It's good. It's a good place, and I've got my toys, and I've got some time. Yeah, got some really good friends, and with same interests and stuff. So it's great. There's always guys, Dino and that I can ring. Let's go for a ride. I can do it that week. Yep, oof, let's go and do it. So it is good. Yeah, life is good, and my wife's great with me riding. She loves the fact that I'm into that and to my enduro riding and stuff like that. She's more than happy if I go to the high country once a year, or the boys are going to Tassie later this year. And she said, why don't you go to Tassie? I said, because we've just built a house, I don't need to spend money on that, but which is kind of cool to have someone like that in your life, and that supports that. So, but no, she's a smart woman, and she's high up in corrections, and is her own, does well herself. So so definitely.
Good mix.
Yeah. So.
And so you said you're still involved in the bike game a little bit.
Yeah, I do. I do like metro area for GKA Sports. I do just Vittoria tyres, which are amazing. Got them on my e-bike. They're just insane, the Mazzas. We do Motorex. We do our own chapter brands, things like that. So a lot of different stuff within that brand. And they're a family of, when I first started repping, I worked for them, and I worked for Solar Sport, or Netty. And so Glenn and Kerry I've worked with since probably year 2000. So I've worked for a long time. I stopped working for them a little while when I got into the Fireys, and then I got back working for them again. So it's been a long time, and it's, I just went away with them last week actually to Melbourne, and had a bit of just a conference, and we had one of the guys over from Bangkok, from Victoria, to talk about what's going on with their product going forward. And I still have an interest in that. It's good. There's not a massive amount of dealers in the state now, so you don't it's not like when you have 5 agencies and you're just running around everywhere all the time. It's a lot more chill, and I try to get up to Darwin sort of once a year and just see a few shops up there. Still do that. It's good. It keeps your finger on the pulse. It keeps you, you're involved with it. Still seeing stores and stores have changed a lot, like over the years, a lot. Sadly, we've lost some people and businesses and stuff like that. So it's always been a developing sort of front, but it's still a cool industry to be involved in, and yeah, it's great, but it's always changing. It's always changing for sure. So, but no, I still love it, and I think I'll stay involved in it. A little bit longer yet for sure. So,
any favourite people in the industry, like whether they're here today or not, like you mentioned before, a few people. Any guys that really
there's some
really struck you?
There's some classics that I've just known since I was a kid, like Merrick at Super Elliots, and went to Bali with Merrick, and John Bishop that had Bicycle Mount Barker and Scorpion Imports. He used to be the Matt that run Repco here. He's a great guy. I've known him again since I was a kid, and just even other people like Kevin Excel at Brooks Cycles at Murray Bridge is a love it. We'll just ring up and he'll just want to talk about the football to me or something like that, and just a really nice guy. Peter Moyle, I really used to get along with really, really well, and sadly he passed away during COVID, and I couldn't even go to his funeral, which is pretty upsetting. But Peter and I, again, I've known him since I was a kid, and we used to talk about, he used to just still keep in contact with all these old BMX champs and stuff, and we'd just sit and talk about.
He was probably the first. Well, I came later, but as far as a BMX supporter, Peter Moore.
Oh, absolutely. He was a president of the BMX Association when I was a kid, of the SA BMX Association, and obviously ran teams and stuff like that, and still he's just lived it up for so long.
Into it, yeah.
Oh, heaps into it, and he was I used to get along with him really, really well. He was a lovely man. You've got there's some classics like that. Just some of the older crew that have been around for just a long, long time in it. Like it's just a long time. Phil Midiger, in Nord Parade, and still there, and Peter Sutton at cycle on Cliff Ave at Port Noarlunga. Oh. He's been there forever, so. And he says, "Oh, you have to carry me out in a box. That's when I'll leave the shop," sort of thing. And it's just I love the people like that, just that have been around forever. And
it's crazy looking back now. We're talking 20, 30 years ago now. Just seems like not that long ago. That's a long time.
Even longer. Yeah. Even probably some of those 30, 35 years that I've known for. Yeah. So, Peter Moyle I would have known for 40 years, So since I was about 10 or So it's a lot. It's a long time in your life to know these people as well. Do
you think that's maybe a bit unique to South Australia? Compared to other
maybe
states, how they approached, their community or I don't know. Does South Australia have something different? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think probably a little bit with that, especially Peter with the BMX scene. Definitely, it's just always into the BMX scene. He's was never out of it, sort of thing, and just I don't know, his stash of old BMX stuff and things like that he must have had, and he'd get it, put on Facebook occasionally and sell off some weird 09 plates and stuff like that he just had stashes of all this old stuff, but. Yeah, there were different times. And John Bishop had the first, to me, amazing BMX shop when I was a kid, which was Mitcham Cycles in the old shopping centre that eventually burnt down. But that was my uncle used to live across the road, have the Torrens Arms Hotel. So I got to know John through there, and he started the Happy Valley BMX Club. He was the first BMX club in the state, basically. John started. And so I got to know him, and it was just a shop that had all the trick, Mongoose, Super Gooses, and MX2 red lines, and just cool old stuff like that, which is amazing. And so that's sort of another way I sort of got into it, and that's when I met Crafter, and that's when we started downhilling, getting train runs on our BMXs when I was 11 or 12 years old, I suppose. Down through Andos and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's been going on a long time. Yeah. For sure. So it's been going on for 40 years. People have been doing that for. Yeah. So, but on BMXs and then first mountain bikes and stuff. But, yeah, it's cool.
Very good. Another beer?
Sure. Thank you, mate. Nice and cold.
Still going? Yeah.
But no, it's certainly been a fun place to grow up and just be a part of, the whole scene here. It's certainly, I have no regrets, looking back, and it certainly has been the people and the places and the times and, just the funny tracks that we used to race on downhill, the inside lines stuff like that.
Okay.
So good.
Tracks now, there's downhill mountain bike parks.
Yeah, it's amazing.
What was trying to ride it? Where would you ride a downhill track 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Where were you riding back then?
I guess the first proper shuttle runs I ever did was with my mate Ed and his Land Rover, the old Army Landy.
Yeah.
And we had a friend called Blens, and we just had to buy him a packet of Stuyvesants and an iced coffee, and he would do runs for us, like as long as we wanted. We'd obviously put fuel in the car. And so we'd do Horsenal. So we'd drive up Hallett, right up to the top of Mount Lofty, and then just do Horsenal's gully runs, time and time, just rocky, steep, ridiculous, like big rocks and not flowy kind of nice stuff. It was just gnarly sort of downhills.
And was that a single track? Was it a walking track?
There was a bit of walking track. There's a lot of four-wheel drive, rocky four-wheel drive style fire roads, but real steep ones. A bit of creek bed stuff at the bottom. Used to link up a bit and then went into a little reserve at the bottom, which was more single track and stuff like that. But yeah, nothing like, now I will go riding now, just go, this is unreal. Like these tracks.
Have you ridden it recently?
I haven't ridden Horseman's, nah. But just some of the mountain bike parks, like that just wasn't a thing back then, It's insane. Like, it's just so good.
It was difficult to ride a mountain bike somewhere.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. But Blair, obviously, I grew up in Hawthorne Dean, so Blair National Park, I rode a lot as a kid, and used to make a few trails in there when I was young. And early days, the old bowl that used to be at the start of Blair Park, which has been gone forever, but that whole jumps in it, and like it was a pretty cool area to hang out. And but yeah, that was pretty well. Blair, Blackwood Forest, I used to build downhills in there when I was racing, just like real steep. If I was going to race in, Madura Pines or somewhere like that, so I'd try and go find somewhere that was going to be kind of similar to where I was going to race, and I'd always go there when it was wet and shitty, and I'd make myself ride over the biggest routes and stuff like that to get used to, your body position and stuff like that. So that I'd always try and find stuff that I knew, okay, this is going to be a bit like this. I'll go and I'll ride this. And so, yeah, usually always when it was the worst to ride it, because then I'll go, all right, I know I can ride it Madura Pines if it's pouring with rain all day sort of thing. I'll be okay with it sort of thing. So, yeah, that's good.
So through your racing, you had some good results. Were you results driven? Like, what goes on inside your head? Are you bummed if you don't win? Or
yeah, I think I was pretty hard to be around sometimes just before I raced, and it wasn't because I just was really focused, and I probably, like my friend would say, I'm not even going to talk to you like the morning of a race because you're not you anymore, sort of thing. I just would be, sort of just be concentrating a lot on what I wanted to do and the outcomes I could have envisaged. But I think I was results driven. Yeah, I think so. I think, and that's probably a lot to do with the reason when I finished riding, I just went, I don't feel like that anymore. I don't. And if I'm not,
you're going out to win.
Yeah,
you're not
for
going
sure.
to participate.
No. Racing was always about winning for sure. Like, I'd get disappointed if I didn't win. Definitely. It wasn't the end of the world. I wasn't like bummed for 3 days or something. It was like, well, that sucks, but okay. What did I do wrong? Like this and this, and no, that was shitty up there. Okay, I can get better at that sort of thing. Or got a flat tire. You can't really help that. No, exactly. So,
but would you visualise a track like you've got a race coming up? Like what? You hear other people talking about visualise. You know the track. Did you used to do stuff like that?
A little bit, yeah. But tracks always change a lot, so it's kind of it's visualising, knowing where it is, but then it's also being really reactive at the time as well. So you know where your lines need to be, but with downhill, suddenly you've made the top 10 or something. you haven't ridden since the morning, there's been 500 people go down it, and that line you just know is going to be just destroyed. So you think in your head, I'm going to do this other one this time. And so, yeah, I used to be able to do that quite well, and just and then just changing on the fly, I guess, and just being, my thing was just to be really smooth, and it's probably made me lose a few races, not smashing myself, like really pushing myself. But my thing was, if I got down, it was just super smooth and it felt nice. That was pretty good anyway. Like I liked that feeling, not just smashing off the trees and getting to the bottom sort of thing. Like, being smooth was my big thing. But yeah, in saying that, you do visualise, and even now when you're going enduro riding, you sort of, you might have done it the day before, and then you go, oh yeah, I remember all this part, I can go really hard all through here sort of thing. So I guess your mind does do that, like visualise it. But I never really thought of that. I sort of, once I got to a race, I'd walk the track and then ride it, and just scope it all out, and then in my head I'd sort of learn it all and remember it all sort of thing. So, yeah.
Were there times where you've qualified fastest or in the top few in a final, and then you're sitting at the gate waiting? Were you in that position many times?
Yep, definitely.
How does your head go? You're the last man down the hill.
Yeah.
Everyone else, if I get this...
I
qualified fastest.
Yeah, you qualified fastest. You obviously you've been fastest on the in little splits and stuff that you've done, and there's pressure on you. I kind of liked that. I actually always loved heaps of pressure. Like I always rode a bit better, I reckon, when there was pressure. So it never really bothered me. I've always found that pressure. You can make mistakes, and everyone does. But I always just found I've got a bit clearer, like under a lot of pressure, and I think that's kind of driven on later in my life as well. Like pressure just makes you think a bit.
Being in the department, you're making quick decisions. You can
and you're just a bit clearer with that sort of pressure on you, sort of thing. So I'd much rather, instead of just training, I love to race all the time, and probably in my job now, instead of just drilling, I like to do the job. So yeah, it's good fun.
Adversity. Did something go wrong? Things have gone wrong for you in your life. Is there anyone that you could think of that you'd talk us through and how you dealt with the shit situation?
Look, I think everyone's had adversity in their life. You lose parents and and friends, and I lost a lot of friends when I was young, to suicide and accidents, and like when I was really quite young, through really close friends at school. I lost 3 school friends within 2 months, right at the end of school. One of them was an accident, and 2 of them took their own lives. And I don't know.
Were you aware of that as it was happening, or you too young to understand?
Oh no! Like when it had happened, there was notes left, and we'd sort of seen them the day before, and they were cool, and you didn't saw it just came out of the no idea really. And yeah, I mean that's stuff that's probably that's
How
adversity.
That's
I was probably 17 or something like that.
Hard thing to comprehend.
Yeah,
and
it is.
reconcile.
Yeah, really, and really good people as well. Like it was just a shock. And I mean that's probably the biggest sort of adversity and things like that. And then having parents go through cancer, and getting them through as long as you can, and trying to get them through it, and then they lose their life. I mean that's
You were
all
close
just
to your dad. That's your dad.
yeah, I was always pretty close to my dad. He lived interstate, but we were really good friends and things like that. And so yeah, as soon as he got cancer, I just kept flying over there, and then I just got him in a car. They couldn't put him in a plane because of what he had. And I said, where do you want to be? And he said, I want to be in Adelaide. And I said, all right, I'll be back in an hour. And I just got the best car I could get, and they gave me all the drugs, and I just drove him back to Adelaide and had him at a house. And he only lasted a couple of months really from when he was diagnosed. But
Shit, that's quick, eh?
yeah. So yeah, it was pretty painful for him and pretty awful. But
Was he aware there was some, or he might not have told you, but
I think in hindsight he was, but he didn't really realise. Like he had lung cancer, and he never smoked or anything like that in his life. But he yeah, he knew something was obviously there for a long time, but he just put it down to other things, and which is a bit, it's a good lesson. If something doesn't feel quite
You're a
right,
man, I think I'm going to tough it out. It's not always the way.
I think if anything like that, if something's not quite right, just get it checked. It doesn't matter. Like, it's just, that taught me that. Like,
How old was he when he passed?
68, so not very old, But yeah, so I mean that's a big lesson in most things. Like, if something doesn't feel right, get checked out. Like, it doesn't, there's not that big man sort of thing anymore. It doesn't matter what it is. If you've got a thing on your finger that's been there for 4 weeks and it's just not going away, just get it checked out, man. Like,
the physical stuff's probably easier. Or if it hurts, it's easier.
Yeah,
but
it
if
is.
it's in your
Mental
head,
stuff, yeah, definitely.
harder.
It is, yeah.
And I imagine the stuff in the fire department, what you're doing with now.
Yeah.
How to tell us a bit more about the support network for that sort of thing.
They do have a peer support network. So if something happens, they will continually chase you up and they'll get you help. They have counselling available and things like that. It probably needs to be extended a little bit further. It's, that it's not as big as it once was, or there's not as many people involved in peer support. So I think that's an important thing, like, to have, in any job really, because people can be struggling with anything, like, but yeah, they do. Mooney, the guy that runs that, is amazing, and just some of the conversations he would have to have with people would be pretty full on, like, and families that people have passed through cancers and stuff like that. And we deal a lot with that with our union and stuff like that, trying to, do the right thing by families that have lost loved ones and due to cancers that are clearly caused through the job, because it does cause a lot of cancers. It's
you don't know what you're going to encounter in a warehouse fire or whatever.
No, totally. And we've learnt a lot, I think, and now about clean cab policies, about keeping dirty gear out, about bagging it, when it's been asbestos or something like that. We're better at it, but it still is it's a job that causes cancer, like, and it's proven. So I guess, yeah.
That's also dealing with your chemicals that you put in the fires out with.
Not so much. It used to be,
Right.
with PFAS and stuff like that. So it was, but they generally don't hurt the chemicals out. Yeah, it's more what's on site. It's more what is burnt, like So
plastics, whatever.
Anything like that. So
Any big fires? Like, is there something that's just burning for days? Does that stuff happen in Adelaide?
Yeah, we had. Yeah, just recently up in Whyalla, they had a fire that went for weeks. Like, just one of those. Probably if you've ever driven to Port Lincoln out of Whyalla, there's the big silo. Like, there's these massive silos, and someone had been just putting tyres in it for years, like years and years, and it's lit up and just burnt for weeks, sort of thing. So just putting foam on it, trying to stop it, but it just keeps burning. There's been big ones, huge. Warehouses, dump fires can go for days. So again, because they burn underground and things like that. So, and that's what's, I guess, cool about the job. It's just, you just never know what you're going to get day to day.
There's always something to do, or is there?
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
you get called out.
Yeah, there's always something to do. There's always stuff around the station, and there's administration sort of stuff, and there's training and stuff like that if you're not getting called. So there's always stuff to do. You're up, updating your skill set and stuff like that continuously. So
and when fire season comes to South Australia, in this case, you look at the weather fronts and you see forecasts coming forward.
Yeah.
Does everything kind of ramp up?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
they have different sort of levels of preparedness sort of thing. So so they'll definitely look at what the bureau said and sort of will do whatever level of preparedness that is for the day. They might have more staff on. They might have a lot of different things. But
do you increase your work days then? Do you work more days?
You can be on, if you're on your days off, you can be on call to come in at any one time. So you have to be, that you might be, just have to be available within 20 minutes or something like that to get straight in if they need to put another strike team into a different truck, one of the spare trucks or something. So there's lots of stuff like that. Obviously you work with the CFS a lot in that sort of stuff. So we're supporting them because they're obviously the bushfire people. So, but it's yeah, that's just you never know.
You're my metro.
We're
stuff,
metro
that's your
stuff, yeah.
environment.
So we're more like full-time fireys, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're their volunteers basically. So
nice.
no, it's good.
So what's Ben Whitlock going to do with himself in the near future?
What is he going to do? I think he'll just keep doing what he's doing. Really, I think. I think I'll keep riding motorbikes. I'll keep riding mountainies. Yeah, I just I've got an old car that I've been doing up and stuff like that, and got an old Triumph motorcycle that I love riding in summer, and I'll just continue to do that, work on my house, have a great life with my wife, and hopefully travel a little bit, and keep being a fiery for quite a bit longer yet. I've got a long time to go, a lot of stuff I'd like to achieve within the union aspect of the fireys, and I would certainly be putting a lot of effort into that. That's going to take a lot of effort in, but I think that's what I'm going to do. Just keep on keeping on. Yeah, enjoying life. Really, I love it.
When you were young, did you know what you wanted to be? Like when you're going back to the late teens or anything?
I think I wanted to be a professional motocross rider. And I just never had the skill set to do that, like to go overseas.
You had good skills, but it still wasn't good.
Oh, no, not to that aspect, for sure. No, I'm not like a Hunter Lawrence or a Jet. They're just unreal, like just so good. And no, that's a different level for sure. I was good. I was fine, like excellent at things. But no, that's just to get to that is extreme sort of thing in motocross, and the money behind it and everything like that. But in my head, that was my. I had heroes, Ricky Johnson and these heroes, and Brock Lover and, Brad Lackey, all these American, I'd buy all the magazines and they were my absolute heroes. And then Jeff Leask in Australia and Stephen Gall and, right with those guys. And they were just...
Stephen Gall, didn't he bring in the San Andreas or something? Was that back in the day? Was he involved with that?
I don't know whether he was, but... I remember Gawley because I used to do the Academy of Motocross when I was quite young, and he used to run it because he was an absolute legend of the sport, like 5-time Mr. Motocross and stuff. And so I got to know Stephen on that respect as a kid. And then I remember seeing him at Thredbo, and he was racing a downhill at Thredbo once up there, and he broke his leg so badly at the top at the fire roadie bit, just smashed his leg, and it was the last race he did. Because I saw it, was chatting to him the day before. I was like, "What are you doing here?" Blah, blah, blah. Having a chat, and he was like, "Oh, you're doing really well," and blah blah. I've seen your name heaps, and just had a chat, and then he got choppered out of there the next day. But he's still an absolute legend. He still rides heaps. Like he's still a Yamaha ambassador, and so he rides their e-bikes and he rides their motocross bikes, and he does Tenere adventure bikes, and still really active. But I'm not sure if he was involved with that. I knew he knows Mao Dalton really well.
I just remember there's a couple of names.
Yeah, he's really good friends with Mao, so probably that could have had something to do with that for sure. Yeah,
nice. So all right, I think this has been fucking good fun.
It has. It's been lovely. Yeah, been cool. Enjoyed it.
We might come to close to the end, but if you got any inspirational thoughts or takeaways or a message for someone that a good message, what would your good message be?
My good message? Well, I think just enjoy life to a full. Never give up on something. I think I remember when I BMX, I was never that big, and I used to get beaten a lot by just bigger guys, and I just persevered, and then one day I just was as big as them, and I beat them all the time. Like, I think just don't give up on something. If you have a dream, just keep pushing it. Just be nice to people, like, just respect people, respect your competitors, and I think you'll go a long way in life, just respect for sure.
Good words. Nice. Well done. All right. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ollie. Thanks, mate. Excellent.
Cheers.
Great. Cheers.
There we go.